Hello, horror fans. It's me, Cass,
Kylee.
and we are the Horrorcraft podcast. Today, we are talking about Hannibal Lecter. We are talking about the OG, the start of Anthony Hopkins' reign as Hannibal Lecter. We are talking about Silence of the Lambs. If you have not seen Silence of the Lambs, we highly encourage you to do so. You probably have seen even clips because this movie holds the title of being the first and only horror movie to this point that has won an Oscar for Best Picture. Very much deserved of that award. So we are going to dive in to the deeper themes and messages behind Silence of the Lambs. We're also going to bring up parts of Hannibal. So if you've not seen either movie, please pause. And they are both currently, as of this day, which is May the 4th. Also, happy May the 4th to all you Star Wars out there. May the 4th be with you. Um, you'll hear this late, but you know, post message for that. But as of this date, it is currently on Max. I cannot confirm at this time that it will still be on Max when you listen to this, but we highly encourage you watching both. And I am just going to put a massive trigger warning into effect when it comes to this movie. It is very gnarly. There is talk of cannibalism, violence, death, murder, everything you could ever think of, drug use, assault, all of that. It is in this movie. So if you do not feel like having a heavy listen, we completely understand that, and you can check us in the next episode. But if you are okay with moving forward, knowing that, sit back, relax, stay away from the cutlery, and let's enjoy a feasting of the first wave of Hannibal the Cannibal. So let's go ahead and cue the music.
Welcome to the Horrorcraft podcast.
All right, we are back. So, thank you once again to Tiki for doing our intro. We are eternally grateful for you. If you have not, our intro is amazing. Our intro will change a little bit now that it is Kylee and I. You might have seen in the corner our new updated logo. Our intro will be featuring the new logo in the coming weeks. So please look out for that. And we appreciate you a lot. So the intro is a banger, and there may or may not be an intro like that coming soon for Spooky Mom. So I guess you'll just have to watch and listen for that. So, but we're talking Hannibal. So, for those of you who do not know, Anthony Hopkins was not the first person to play Hannibal. Hannibal was originally played by Brian Cox in the movie Manhunter. All of these movies are inspired by a book series. And it goes Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal. No, it's Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, and then Hannibal Rising. And that some of those movies came later on. So Mindhunter is actually a remake. Red Dragon is a remake of Manhunter, sorry. But they wanted to do Manhunter, but with Anthony Hopkins. So they had to recreate scenes from this original Silence of the Lambs to do so. So if you are ever curious after listening to this episode to watch that, I would highly suggest watching Manhunter, then watching Red Dragon so you can compare the two. But then it goes Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, and then Hannibal Rising. And then
It's
Hannibal,
also series.
yeah, the TV show is absolutely. I never thought that there would be somebody that would give Anthony Hopkins a run for his money. And Anthony Hopkins is his own Hannibal. But Mads Mikkelsen is just incredible. And Hugh Dancy playing Will Graham is on a whole other level. You can see why they're extremely popular now and why they have gone off to do really incredible things. I know for me, Hugh Dancy is killing it in Law and Order, and I am appreciative because we all know that Law and Order is my bread and butter.
Yep.
But he's killing it, and Matt Michelson is a movie star. He's been in Marvel movies. He did an Indiana Jones movie. He's done Harry Potter. I mean, he's really just ran the gambit, and he's been in a freaking Rihanna music video. Like, I mean, yeah, if you ever watched the You Better Have My Money music video, he's in it. So Rihanna comes after him in that music video, and it's pretty freaking amazing. And I heard it's because she was a fan of the Hannibal TV series, and that's why she got.
Cool.
Rihanna's amazing. Rihanna, we
She
love you.
is.
If you ever hear this,
She is.
we
Yes,
love
we
you.
love you.
So, but I would be interested to know, Kylie, what was your first memory of like Anthony Hopkins? Because Anthony Hopkins to me always, like, I guess at the time, I just didn't connect him as being Hannibal Lecter.
Oh it was Hannibal Lecter. My dad loved Silence of the Lambs. So I remember as a child watching this movie with my dad when I probably shouldn't have been. So it's kind of near and dear to my heart. But I mean, it was just like a household movie. You know, my mom even enjoyed Silence of the Lambs. I
Wow.
mean, my dad was like a horror fan, but my mom was definitely like a true crime fan, and like
Right.
I think she could justify that it was not a horror
Justify the
movie.
violence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I feel like that's probably why Silence of the Lambs is more commercially acceptable, especially
yeah,
when it comes to like the Oscars and winning awards and stuff, because there is a true crime component to it. And Truman Capote's work and different things like that, and Alfred
yeah.
Hitchcock. True crime kind of had more of a medal at the time than horror. Um, Still does. I'm sorry, I'm a little angry about, even though Nora was great, I'm still a little angry about the substance getting snubbed the way they did.
You know, I remember seeing the preview for that when I went and saw Longlegs. I'm like, that looks really good. I kind of want to see that. But after this year's Oscars, I'm just kind of like boycotting it a little bit.
uh,
Like
Shout out to that.
Give Mikey Madison a freaking Oscar for her portrayal of being a ghost face in the Scream franchise. You know, because
That is,
she was a very good ghost face.
she was. You kind of have to like. She just kind of bodied that because you look
She
back
really did.
now and see like she just kind of killed it.
She did.
Honestly, like she just really was. So in further looking, Anthony Hopkins is currently 87 years old. Um, that's crazy. So to
That's
me
pretty crazy.
though, Anthony Hopkins, I remember him being in Legends of the Fall.
Yes.
I remember him being in The Mask of Zorro because wasn't he? I'm looking it up right now. He was the dad. He was Catherine. I think it was Catherine Zeta. No, he was the guy that helped uh, Antonio Banderas' character become like Zorro.
I haven't
if I
seen that
remember
one.
correctly. Yeah, I just remember growing up with Zorro because I'll be honest, Antonio
You love
Banderas was
Antonio Banderas.
he was hot.
So did my mom, so I feel like I should know that movie.
But I also so here's my thing. I'm a huge Dracula fan, right? Anthony Hopkins was Van Helsing
Yeah.
in Dracula. I remember him like that. I remember just loving him in that. There's also a
There's
really
always
good
something for me, even like growing up watching Silence of the Lambs, and I mean he was a serial killer, like a cannibal. There's just something always so comforting about him.
he was one of those people that you would see in movies, even if he was at his worst, he was just kind of comforting. So he
Yeah,
actually is one of it's a lesser known Stephen King movie, but he was in one of my favorite movies, which is Hearts in Atlantis. It had him and Anton Yelchin at the time, who was very young in it. And it was like he was like this mysterious man that became friends with Anton Yelchin's character, and you kind of didn't know like what was going on with his past and like all this stuff. And it was just a good movie. And so I kind of feel like if Anthony Hopkins was just a cute little grandpa that he would pop up and stuff. He had some cool street cred because he was in Dracula, and I just fell in love with him. I had seen like growing up, I had seen pieces of Silence of the Lambs, but like I truly didn't remember seeing a lot of it until I was like 16 or 17 and
no,
really
I
knowing the
remember.
gravity.
Yeah, I remember what it would like. It would be on TV,
Hmm.
so there would be a lot of stuff that was missing
No,
from it.
girl, a lot of stuff because
Yeah, but watching it as an adult and not stuff cut out of it, you know, it was like, holy fucking shit.
well, and you also kind of forget Anthony Hopkins then goes on and becomes Thor's dad in
Yeah.
all of the Avenger movies and Thor and stuff like that. So he just was kind of this character. So yeah, it wasn't until later on that you see the gravity of it, and you just kind of really don't think about anybody else being. I remember when they announced Hannibal the series. This is before I ever even watched it, and we're talking like peak, like 2012. I think 2013 is when it came out. This was on like Thursday, Friday night primetime NBC, and it is fucking gruesome. Like we're not talking about like the shit that you could get away with now with HBO with Max and all the streaming services and
Yeah.
stuff. This was on television, and this
Yeah, that's a different channel.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and it was if you watch it, which I highly encourage you to, it's fucking brutal. It is
I'm gonna have to watch
brutal. It shows a lot, and there is a lot of violence in it. And there's even more violence. Um, I just am like, whoa, there's even more violence than I think Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal, the movie. There it is just it's on a whole other different level, and you're just kind of like, holy crap, I have no idea how you got away with that with network TV, but
there's not really a whole lot of violence, really. I mean, there is in Silence of the Lambs. When there is the violence, it's extremely unsettling and
mm-mm.
graphic. Like when they transfer Hannibal and he's in that, I don't even know what it was, like a room and in like a cage, and the guard comes in
When he
to like
was yeah,
the music player, and he fucking gets one of the guards and heats his face off. Yeah, like, but it's bad to say. It was kind of
it's not bad because then you watch Hannibal after that because you and I both watched Hannibal today, and Hannibal is sick, but Hannibal is worse because Hannibal from the get go they have to talk about like from the get-go, especially with Mason's character and stuff like that, they have to talk about like him cutting his own face off and eating it, feeding it
Yeah.
to the dogs for Hannibal Lecter. They then move into, him and his time in Rome and the police and the police inspector, and then the whole disembowelment with him, and then moving on to, Mason wanting to feed him to the pigs, and you have that whole component to it. And then the final act is him kind of going after Ray Liotta's character with all of that for, fucking with Clarice. And every time you think that you turn a corner with it, it just gets worse. But I think it's because of the fact that you do get to see more of the complexities in
Yeah.
Hannibal than in Silence of the Lambs. Because Silence of the Lambs, a lot of that is told through the lens of Clarice, where
Yeah.
Hannibal, it's told through the lens of both of them. And that's why there's so many different parts to it. So
And
it's
then you
kind of
got
like,
Hannibal Rising. I watched that
oh,
for the first time today, and I didn't really pay attention to all of it. It just kind of had it on in the background. But you kind of understand why he was the way he was, and but he takes it too far, and it's kind of like that quote the Joker said, in Batman, or who was it? Harvey
no,
Dent.
it's Harvey Dent. You
You
either
either
live long enough to see yourself become the villain,
Yeah,
or die trying not to. I think that's what it is.
yeah,
I
something like
might be
that.
butchering that, people. Listen,
We probably both are. It's fine. It's
it's
fine.
fine. It's fine. The only quote I like persistently know from Batman is Alfred saying, "Why do we fall, Master Wayne? So we can get back up."
That's one of my
I
favorite.
I know that's my favorite too.
You
And if you
know,
like,
Anthony Hopkins would have been a good Alfred.
I know the guy that they had play him through a lot of the original ones, though, through Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer,
Yeah,
and George Clooney, he was impeccable, though.
he
And
was.
listen, say what you want, especially because poor Val Kilmer, passed away a month or two ago. R.I.P. But those movies slapped. Okay,
They did. They did.
the Batman movies, whether you love them or hate, they all have a different tone to them,
You
and they
gotta
all
respect
can.
them.
You really, we would not have the banger of Seal Kiss from a Rose
Yeah.
without Batman. Like,
I like the Alfred from the new Batman,
yes,
by Matt Reeves, which I really think is super
yeah, it
cool
was
that his
Jeremy.
last name's Reeves because that's my maiden name.
It's Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jeremy Irons is incredible. If you've never seen it, Jeremy Irons has a couple episodes that he did in Law and Order, like right before I think Elliot left for the first time, and he was incredible in that. So, getting back to the topic of this though, this movie is pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And so we're going to summarize it, but the core that we're going to talk about this movie, and really the core of Clarice's character, it all kind of sums up to, you have to remember, Clarice is a woman in a man's world in the 90s.
And not just any like local law enforcement, the
Mm-mm.
FBI, the
Yeah,
big
and
league.
big leagues. She is coming in as a heavy hitter, and you see a lot of workplace misogyny in this movie, and that is one of the things that I love specifically about this movie, is how unflinching it is with its representation of her having to deal with certain things. As someone who, obviously, I've talked about this different times, but I have an education, a background in legal studies. I am educated to be a paralegal, and I am around a lot of really badass women. I was taught by a badass woman in my degree program. And um, This is a very fair, accurate representation of a yep, thumbs up, man. If you could see the thumbs up just randomly popped up in the blurring.
Dude, it looks blurred and it looks scary.
It really did. It looked haunted a little. Per it's per us. But this is an accurate representation because even though we've gone far, there are still a lot of male dominated fields that women,
Yeah.
the legal field being one of them, that women have to claw and fight their way for respect. And this is a very true, accurate representation of what a lot of women can go through. And
I think Clarice really navigated it well.
yeah, and that's what is so incredibly moving about this is Clarice never lets, even though that gets like the scene with her crying in the car and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
even in Hannibal, when in the beginning of Hannibal you see the fact that she, like that whole incident with the market and everything, and you see her crying afterwards, she never lets them sweat her in a certain way. She is always, she maintains her, even when she flips out in the middle of Hannibal, yeah, like dessert, she's even holding back then. But it's just so empowering. The way that they showed this is her being a highly educated, highly trained woman handling herself, and she still outshines these people who are consistently trying to drag her down, trying to devalue her because she's a woman in a man's world. And she ends up like showing them up every single time.
I think my favorite part of her kind of standing her ground is when they went to go look at the body of the girl that they had found.
Yep.
They got the
Mm-hmm.
call and they were all just kind of tiptoeing around talking to her because there was like a woman in the room, and she just kind of stands up like, please, can you guys just let us do our thing? We appreciate it. We want to kind of just give this woman the care and love that she kind of deserves right now. And I feel like in that moment, in a male dominated field, like this is one of our women, our superpowers as women,
Mm-hmm.
because really, as a male and in my mind as a cop, I would have been like, okay, yeah, because that's someone's daughter, that's someone's
Mm-hmm.
sister, that's someone's niece. You know what I mean? Because she
Yeah.
was just kind of exposed, and there was just so many fucking people in that room.
Yeah, it really shows you the importance of why women claw up the way that they do. It's not just for themselves, but it's for the betterment of,
Yeah,
because the one thing that we're going to talk about, like when we get deeper in this too, would the outcome would be very starkly different of what happens in this movie if it's not for the fact that Clarice is very persistent through all of this, does her due diligence, and she is the one that eventually, makes everything right. And if it wasn't for the fact that she didn't persist that way, the
yeah,
the woman in this movie would have died.
yeah.
Um, she would have just been
What is it? A
another,
senator? She was
yeah,
the
it's the
senator's
senator's
daughter.
daughter.
Yeah, she would have died.
She would have died. So before we get any further, we're gonna stop. Full spoiler alert in effect. I mean, there has been a spoiler alert in effect this whole time, but uh, uber spoiler effect in place. So the synopsis of Silence of the Lambs. This is just our synopsizing of it. It is not anything grand or grandiose. We are going to put the link in the description down below if you would like to read the fact sheets that we're going to be talking about, or look at the synopsis from IMDb. That will be down below. But Silence of the Lambs is about a young professional woman named Clarice who is currently going through training at the FBI, and she is a very bright star. She gets asked a strange request as one of her first assignments to go and interview um, a serial killer, one of the most prolific serial killers, which is Hannibal Lecter, who is known as Hannibal the Cannibal. Um, she kind of figures out that they are using her to get information from Hannibal because there is a serial killer, another serial killer that is on the loose called Buffalo Bill that is killing women at an exorbitant rate and taking pieces of their skin. And so she develops a rapport with Hannibal and kind of get some information. And we go down a wild rabbit hole that leads her straight into the crosshairs of Buffalo Bill. And there is a showdown between the two of them, with Clarice remaining victorious. But there are very many moving pieces and parts. Silence of the Lambs is an over 2 hour, almost, I think it's 2.5 hour movie. It is quite a bit of a watch, but it is very engaging and thrilling through the whole thing. It gives me the warm fuzzies, honestly. I know that's a really fucked up thing to say about this movie, but there's just something homey about it. Like it's, and this movie then lends itself to a lot of inspiration for different films. One of them most recently being Longlegs, which is a movie we will be covering here in the near future. But Clarice is kind of a badass. She is the first real woman that we see of her kind that, because we do have, like, obviously the entendre that is the final girl in horror movies, but she is not a final girl. She is a woman doing her job, working twice as hard as the men that are around her for respect, and she kind of gets shit on throughout the whole entire movie unfairly. Gets even more shit on in Hannibal. It's all bad. But she just navigates it the only way Clarice knows, which is forward. And Clarice is a Midwestern girl. They make fun of her all the time for, her accent. And don't they say she's from like Oklahoma, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's what they say. Yeah. But she just has to work so much harder. And you see that as she's going through this. I mean, you see her routinely going through these trainings, just doing it. I mean, in Hannibal, she says to Ray Liotta's character, he's like just going at her and just talking about like her really just very like sexually, and I would give you the time of day. And she was like, bring it. She was like, I'll meet you in the mats without any padding. And she's like, I will take you down. I will take you down. And I have no problem doing so. And so it's just this very idea of her as a person and seeing such a powerful woman dealing with such violence.
She does it so gracefully, like all of it. I feel like, Clarice went into this field because of her father. Her father was a law enforcement officer and was killed, I believe, in the line of duty, a robbery or something. I feel like she went into, the law enforcement field knowing that she was going to have to deal with just the stigma of being a woman in a man's world. But she just handles it with such grace. And I'm not saying all women don't, but I feel like some women get into certain fields and they want to look like Pikachu when they're not being treated right because they're a woman. And it shouldn't be like that. I'm not saying that at all. But like, that shouldn't deter you from doing what you need to do and showing these motherfuckers that you're a badass woman.
That's very true, because one of the reasons Jodie Foster gets picked for this role is because of her perseverance. The director, and again, this is from the fact sheet from IMDb, the director was extremely impressed with how persistent she was, and he actually she actually, I guess, at one point in time when she was meeting the director, she purposely went down a hallway and like really beelined it for him persistently. And he said that he could see in that moment that she was the embodiment of what he wanted in Clarice.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Jodie Foster, like,
Yeah. Come
she's
on.
a queen.
She is.
She's a queen. We love her. And it's crazy because when you think of this movie, you think about their interactions together, right? They only have like 6 scenes together in
Yeah. I
total.
think it's like 21 minutes. I think I was reading all together.
Yeah, I feel like they have more screen time in Hannibal together than
Yeah.
they do in this one because, well, yeah, obviously because of what happens at the end of Hannibal. Like,
Yeah.
they do share, duh, Cassandra, duh. You know.
Yeah.
um don't make me lose my head like Ray Liotta's character. I knew that was gonna get you. Knew.
Dude,
um,
that was so like
we were, oh, so Kylie and I were just talking off camera about how, like, I remember watching Hannibal as an adult. I did not realize how fucking brutal that movie was. Like,
you know what, to be honest, I think that was another one that I watched a lot, but it was on TV, so you didn't see certain parts like
yeah,
Ray
this
Liotta's
was just,
brain exposed and talking.
oh, and now thinking back to it, I specifically remember them like watching a behind the scenes a while ago before Ray Liotta died, where they talked about filming that scene, um, and how just like intense that was. Of like, it was a lot.
Did you
Which,
like Juliana Moore's portrayal of Clarice Starling?
mhm. Do I
I mean,
like it?
I would have definitely preferred, of course, Jodie Foster, but I think she really did it justice in
Well,
Hannibal.
so here's the problem. Han- Silence of the Lambs came out in 1991. Hannibal came out in um 2001. Jodie Foster's career flourished after this. Um she is known for a lot. I'm trying to find Jodie Foster's age. 1962. So she was born in 1962. I'm trying to figure out.
She
I
was
think,
even as a kid because she was in that movie Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, which I don't know why I've never seen that, but she plays like a 12-year-old prostitute.
she does. She does. So Juliana Moore.
She was kind of exposed to a lot of bad things in Hollywood at a young age.
Well, and I feel like her career had, and honestly, I mean, I feel like that's probably why a movie like this is hard,
Yeah.
because you have to dig deep. And I feel like both of them play different ends of their care of Clarice Starling, and I feel like it was probably a good thing that they each played her at a different point in time, because I feel like they could only do it once. Because to be honest, Anthony Hopkins deserves a medal in itself for the fact that he did Hannibal Lecter 3 times. Like,
Yeah.
that's probably a really deep place to go, dark place to go. But I feel like that the reason they didn't have Jodie Foster come back, I feel like Jodie Foster probably chose not to come back, and you kind of don't blame her because
Yeah.
it's heavy. And I do think Juliana Moore, there was a lot more physicality in the second movie, in Hannibal,
Oh
than there
yeah.
was Silence of the Lambs. And that movie was already demanding of Jodie Foster, so I feel like respectfully they both could kind of pass the torch to each other. So, because Edward, I know Edward Norton, when he played Will Graham, he talked a lot about how that was like a dark, really dark place to go. And mind you, this is the
But
same,
playing what's his face in American History X wasn't?
but that's why I'm saying he does characters like that, because then you got to think too, Edward Norton also did Fight Club.
Yeah,
And
Fight Club was kind of dark too. Yeah.
yeah, he's done a lot of them. And Anthony Hopkins also does a lot of dark roles as well. Like
Well, and I
he
think like, and some people get very hung up on certain actors not coming back to certain movies. You
mm,
have to respect it. Look what happened to Heath Ledger.
very, yeah, and these are dark places to go, because like the FBI worked with them on this film. Like,
Yeah, like the depths that Anthony Hopkins and Ted Levine, who played Buffalo Bill, or James Gum,
mhm.
that was his name, as Buffalo Bill. That would, I'm having mush mouth. The depths that these two went into, investigating and coming up with the role that they were playing was very, very deep. Something
Yeah,
I was reading that even Ted Levine was going into like trans bars and talking to trans people of getting an idea of certain things.
yeah, no. In preparation for his role, Sir Anthony Hopkins studied files of serial killers. Ted Levine also did as well.
Yeah.
Also, he visited prisons and studied convicted murderers, and was present during some court hearings concerning gruesome murderers and serial killings, which I can tell you, I have sat in on a couple of trials, for different things. One of them was a murder case. Um, and that was something that our instructor had us do, is sit in on this case. They showed the pictures of an autopsy. I've seen autopsy photos. That is a very hard environment, especially when you're talking somebody at that depth. Um, which I heard that he went to some pretty serious, like, ones. So I could only imagine how that is.
Yeah.
It does take a lot to compartmentalize that. Um,
Well,
there
you
is a
know how weird I am because I'm in Facebook groups that show like autopsy or crime scene stuff, but I can only imagine what it looks like having a printed out autopsy photo and just of certain type of crimes against certain kinds of people and ages and what that is like.
yeah, the legal field, and a lot of, law, or police, fire. There is a high burnout with that for a reason, because there is a
Yeah,
unique stress set that is put on that. You are put in a lot of uncomfortable situations. You are required a lot of things. And that's the reason why I really do appreciate the way that both Juliana Moore and Jodie Foster plays Clarice, because Clarice is kind of a beacon for that, is being a woman in a man's field without having her power taken away from her. And that is a very hard
yeah,
thing to do, but it is very present and very indicative of real life. And I know women like this. Like, I been raised by women like this. Like, I am blessed enough to be around and be taught from women like this. So it's just one of those things that you just do have a deeper level of understanding. The one thing I really do like too is how authentic they try to make this feel, because they did
Hmm.
have the FBI's behavioral science unit that assisted in the making of this. They did have agents that were, you know, I think Jodie Foster ended up like observing one of the agents for a period of time, and took a lot of inspiration for Clarice from that. Um, they FBI was kind of really instrumental in this, and they saw this as a opportunity to recruit,
Yeah,
to put more women in this field. And um, I love that, because I do think that there is kind of an unapproachability with fields like that sometimes. So the
yeah.
fact that they made a like big effort and a big push to be like, okay, we want to show women that they could be strong and they could be in this field. Um, I just kind of,
There's just certain insight and gifts that women have that men don't.
mm-hmm, very true. Yeah, there is. I also feel like you and I kind of have a deeper understanding for this movie, because Buffalo Bill is supposed to be from Ohio, and Ted,
Yeah.
yeah, isn't it Belafonte, Ohio, or
No, it is Belvedere,
Belvedere?
Ohio.
And wasn't
Belvedere.
it Ted Levin, when he was when they were scouting locations, the house that ended up being Buffalo Bill's, it
Yes.
was like the house next to his high school girlfriend, and he
Yeah.
was like super excited, but that's his hometown.
Yeah.
Um
I
so
thought that was really cool and
and also, by the way, I
just
love,
more crazy fucking shit coming from Ohio.
well, and I love Ted Levin before you even make this connection, because for me, he's always quick Draw McGraw from Wild Wild West to me. The one that has the leaky ear and stuff. Like, I watched Wild Wild West a lot growing up with Kevin Kline and Will Smith. And so, like, then now associating him with Buffalo Bill, but like, I loved Buffalo Bill too. So it was kind of,
You did. See my Buffalo
yeah,
Bills
yeah, Kylie.
graduation shirt?
Bill just wanted to be understood.
He just wanted to be a woman and he just wanted to be understood, but he went about it the wrong way. Very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Especially scalping a woman and using her scalp and hair as a wig. You could have just went and bought a wig, bro. You could have just went and bought a wig.
You could have, but if somebody out here is listening and they have those thoughts of like Buffalo Bill, just hit us up. I got a spare wig. I could send it to you. We could solve this right now. I'm really trying. I'm not.
I need a haircut. If you want, if you want some, I'll give you
The unseriousness of that. So this movie actually recouped its budget within the first week of the movie being released.
some. See, that's crazy because I wonder how many people thought like, what the fuck is this? Silence of the Lambs?
Hmm. Well,
I wonder how many people knew that this was a book and what the book was about and was
well,
going to see it. But maybe they brought in a lot of people that first week into the theaters because of Jodie Foster, because of Taxi Driver.
I don't know, but Anthony Hopkins, when his agent called to tell him he was sending him the script for this, he was in London, and he thought they were sending him the script to a children's movie because it was Silence of the Lambs. Um, and so that is kind of funny. Um, so Thomas Harris is the one that does the book series of Hannibal Lecter. He wished the cast and crew well in this. He did not want to be involved. I do think that's because Manhunter wasn't received as well as he thought it was going to be. He didn't know that it was then going to blow up and become this from Silence of the Lambs, obviously. But when they won 5 Oscars, by the way, um,
Pretty
for this.
amazing.
So when they won the Oscars, he sent all of the Oscar recipients a case of wine. Kind of awesome. Um, so Ted, again, like you said, Ted Levin, he read profiles of serial killers. He said he found the material very disturbing. And then, yeah, he did go to a few trans bars and interviewed some patrons. Um, that is also the reason why Gene Hackman, um, he originally bought the rights for Silence of the Lambs. And I couldn't find like a straight fact about this, but I know from hearing this before, Gene Hackman was friends with Brian Cox. And so I wonder if he, after seeing Brian Cox's performance, if
Yeah.
he felt like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But Gene Hackman had also had some pretty like disturbing roles around that time. And when he really sat down and thought about like what would be required of him, because he wanted to play Hannibal Lecter, um, he decided to pass on it. Um, so uh, the portrayal of Dr. Hannibal Lecter is rated as the #1 villain on the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Heroes and Villains list,
As he should.
as he should. Um, so, uh, Brooke Smith and Ted Levin were actually very close on set, which is Buffalo Bill's victim in the movie. Jodie Foster ended up referring to Brooke Smith as a kidnapping victim who later fell in love with her kidnapper, which is Patricia Hearst, is who she's referring. So, um,
Yeah, the lady, what was her name? Brooke, who
yes,
played, she is in Grey's Anatomy as Erica
yes,
Hahn. And here's another interesting fact. In Hannibal Rising, the guy who plays Owen in Grey's Anatomy was also in Hannibal Rising.
well, and just
Those are
shout out
my those are my Grey's Anatomy facts for
tie-ins,
the day.
tie-ins.
Tie-ins for the day. Yep.
Um, so just a quick shout out. Obviously Ray Liotta, who is in Hannibal, he is no longer with us. The actor who played Hannibal in Hannibal Rising tragically passed away a couple years ago as well. There are a lot of really amazing people that were behind this movie that are no longer with us. So please, let's just take a quick moment of silence for them, because they are amazing. Um, the thing I've always appreciated about Jodie Foster did a thing for Inside Story, The Silence of the Lambs in 2010. She said that this was one of her favorite movies of her own.
I
Um,
love that.
I love that too because we see a lot of people who later come back and don't like their darker work. Jennifer
Like
Aniston.
Juliana Margulies from Ghost Ship.
Okay, that one I kind of understand. Kind of because of the fact that the movie got changed at the last minute and she was sold one movie, she portrayed another. Kind of understand that. Jennifer Aniston, I don't because
Yeah,
Leprechaun is what
yeah,
Leprechaun is. And to be clear, Jennifer Aniston did get called out by Warwick Davis. She did walk back on that and she has since embraced it. But it is nice to see people embracing their careers for what they are. Um, so there were over 300 applicants for Clarice Starling, some of them being Meg Ryan and Michelle Pfeiffer. They actually turned down the role because of the disturbing subject matter.
I
Brooke
think
Smith.
they both could have been. Well, no, Meg Ryan's too like bright and sweet for this
Mm-hmm.
role. Michelle Pfeiffer, yeah, but like Jodie Foster, she was born to play Clarice.
She
She just
was.
was.
Brooke Smith, who played Catherine Martin, actually read for the part as well, along with Nicole Kidman. Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
That would have.
Nicole Kidman plays some dark roles.
So she has. Um, the crazy part about this, with the exception of what was found in the old limousine, no dummies were used for the dead victims and the photos depicting them. They were all done with real actors in realistic makeup, often while undressed or out in the open.
Shut up.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah. To add to the authenticity of it.
Oh my gosh, that just adds a whole nother layer to this movie for me.
I feel like that was a choice that they intentionally did because
Jarring.
yeah, it is, and it is just
Well, I mean, I guess that does make sense because I was reading that when they're doing the autopsy, hold on, hold on. When they're doing the autopsy scene of the one woman, where is it? That they used because there's a moth found in her throat or in her mouth, and they used some kind of candy. Hold on, let me look. I thought
yeah, they
it was
used
pretty
a Tootsie
cool.
Roll. They used a Tootsie Roll.
Yes,
Yeah, they used a Tootsie Roll. So
there's so many facts of this movie,
there really is.
and I love that because there's sometimes just
There's just not
not.
hardly anything.
There's just not, and
No.
really, it's just nobody has talked about it enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um so Gene Siskel was the only mainstream critic to give this Best Picture winner a negative review. Siskel disliked the elements of camp and gothic about the film and cited Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, as a more honest depiction of a psychopath. As someone who has seen Henry, A Portrait of a Serial Killer, I kind of see what he's saying, but also do not. I this is
He just watched
also
his mouth.
yeah he so this is the first widely available movie on home video at the time of the Academy Award ceremony to win Best Picture,
As it
uh,
should.
as it should. Um, there's just so much, like literally. You could go. Plum Island is an actual animal disease research center near Montauk, New York. But there is a lot of so this is what I was talking about, and this is what I'll close with as we go further. In a 2016 interview for The Wrap, Sir Anthony Hopkins said it was a mistake to star in the sequels Hannibal and Red Dragon, and that he will never play Hannibal Lecter again. In the same interview, Hopkins called The Silence of the Lambs okay and a good film.
Anthony Hopkins said that?
Yeah, I think it's because of the fact that it's just a very dark role to play. Um, and
It is. He, what was it? He got like some inspiration from it from like reptiles and how
mhm.
you notice how he doesn't blink and he just looks like he is constantly like plotting against prey, which he kind of was.
He actually also took that from a friend. He said that there
Yeah.
in the thing in the facts there was a friend of his that wouldn't actually blink when he was talking to certain people, and they found it discomforting in his friend group. Which
I
I
mean,
mean,
somebody
honestly,
not blinking at me, I'd probably be a little bit terrified.
well, so for those of you who don't know, Jamie McGuire, our friend, he did a clip for Horrorcraft's third year, and in the clip, he did not realize he didn't blink the whole time. And people said something about him not blinking and how creepy it was. But like, Jamie. And so Jamie, like, that comes natural to him and stuff. And he's like
Yeah.
the sweetest guy in the world. But it's just something you probably don't notice that you're not, because like, I know for him, he was like, I just didn't even notice that I was doing it. And so, like, shout out to Jamie, by the way. If you
Yes.
haven't watched From,
This is your
this is your
here's your
PSA that you need to go watch it,
yes.
as you should. Anybody who knows From, we are Frumians.
Yep.
So, but what is your takeaway from this movie?
Well, always listen to a woman. Um, don't fall for convicted cannibals or anything that they don't fall into their traps. Don't help any man who can't lift anything into his van.
That part was terrifying.
Yeah,
When
like
he shoves her in the van. For what we're talking about, there is a scene specifically when Buffalo Bill kidnaps Catherine, where he asks her to help, and she helps him lift this couch. He asks her to go in backwards to it, and he actually pushes it, gets her in there, and then literally like kidnaps her, like knocks her out and
I
kidnaps
think it
her.
was just a very good depiction of what it. I mean, I've never been abducted, but sometimes you see in movies, it's just kind of. I hate even saying this. It's just kind of dumb. You don't feel the fear
Mm-hmm.
and the shock, or you just don't feel the feelings of it.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, you're right there with her, absolutely fucking terrified. Because let's be honest, especially back in the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, from way farther back, women were so vulnerable to
Mm-hmm.
being abducted and killed. There was a lot of serial killers, a lot. Granted, there are still some today, but nothing like back
It
prior
was,
to the 90s, really.
I hate saying it, but it was an easier time for
It was
that.
a
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it was such an easier time,
Because
which
as somebody went missing, it wasn't like technology has kind of played a big part in
yeah,
that, right? Because we see that with a lot of people getting tripped up now with techno. I mean,
look
I
at
just,
The Long Island serial killer.
yeah,
And what's really frustrating, law enforcement could have caught this guy a long time ago, but it was just so mishandled by law enforcement. And once somebody finally took a look at it again and started putting all the information into the computer, it was all there. So
well,
it was just a lot easier to get away with certain shit before technology.
look at Chris Watts. I remember watching
Yeah,
the Chris Watts Netflix documentary and then putting the actual like police cam footage in, the body cam footage, and then putting in the footage from the neighbor's house and stuff like that.
yeah.
But like that mistress that was just Googling all of that off the wall crap.
I just still don't understand why why they never took a harder look at her.
Mm,
But I think because I'd seen actually recently in some groups that she has a kid, and some people are wondering if it's Chris Watts' child, and also wondering if the reason why he pled guilty and avoided the trial was to save her, which I think is a very strong possibility.
that is an interesting. Okay, we're gonna dive into that in a
We're just
deeper
yeah, yep.
So I take away the same things. My biggest thing is this is a big reason why we need to support women in fields, especially hard fields like this,
Hmm.
because they get duped at the end of this movie thinking that he's in Chicago and the only
Yep.
one is following up on it is Clarice. And
Yep.
she is the reason why Catherine Martin makes it away. Because when she goes in and James Gunn is there and he's just kind of being unassuming, she picks up on the subtle cues that he's throwing down, and she just handles that whole situation like a boss from beginning to end.
Dude,
And
she knew. She just knew.
she just knew. And because of her, Catherine Martin then walks away.
Yep.
And she I mean, the whole reason this movie is called Silence of the Lambs is because she ends up spilling her trauma to Hannibal Lecter so he
Yeah.
can give her certain information to save her. And that is part of the reason why it's called Silence of the Lambs, because she witnessed her cousin that she was staying with, killing lambs.
Yeah.
And it terrified her. And so it is just one of those things that shows you this is so important. I'm not being one of those people that's just harping. Like, men and women both do a great job in these fields. I think there are lovely people that are working so hard to bring people
Well, I
home.
mean, a woman who has not even completely graduated from like the
Hmm.
FBI Academy is the one who solved a serial killer case
Yeah,
completely.
and built
Like,
a rapport with
yeah,
Hannibal Lecter, because then you see that later on in Hannibal where he's
yeah,
talking about her in those tapes and different things like that. And he ultimately makes the decision to cut his own hand off versus hers,
yeah,
and keeps doing it. And they play with the idea of, does he love her or does he want to eat her? Is she fascinating and he's just something he wants to pick apart, or is it something that he's actually finding deeper within her? And I think it is definitely an interesting entendre with that whole question throughout it, because we do see that in different relationships. We see that in his relationship with Will Graham, either in Mindhunter or Red Dragon. We see that really throughout the Hannibal series with Hugh Dancy and Mad Michelson playing those two characters and playing off of each other. We even see that in Hannibal Rising with the widow that takes him in
yeah,
and the relationship they have.
yeah,
It is this interesting thing. So um I I appreciate movies like this that put the time and energy and effort into being accurate, to
yeah.
depicting this in a way that is thought provoking, but is never violent for violence sake. The violence has a purpose, it has a meaning, and it is
Yep.
a message. And I think that this is the reason why this movie has stood the test of time, because this is
I think we
1991.
need, yeah, I think we need more of this type of filmmaking now.
Yeah,
A lot of times people, especially some of these big production companies, like, don't come for me for this, like A24 or even Blumhouse, they just kind of be making movies just to make movies.
they do.
Like,
And I
let's
mean,
put some more thought into some stuff.
look at Neon, and them with the
Yeah.
Key, and them with, and obviously those are both Patton Oswalt movies. And
Well, like, don't come for me, people like Heretic. I was so excited to see that, and I was kind of let down. It was such a very interesting concept and kind of a little bit of the same, these two Mormon women get kind of abducted by this creepy man. I just felt like it could have been done so much better, and they just kind of dropped the ball with it.
I feel like if you're going to tackle a theme like that, look at Long Legs, okay? Long Legs
Yeah.
drew a lot of inspiration from this, and Micah Monroe and Nicolas Cage put in the work to do those
Yes.
characters. And that is something, if you are going to take a shot at this kind of material, that
Yeah.
you really need to push yourself into doing. So, if you have not seen this film, again, there is my haunted thumbs up.
It really does look like a haunted pumpkin.
It does. It does. So if you have not seen it, please go watch it. It deserves some love. We are going to be diving more into movies that do kind of toe this line between horror, thriller, true crime, and suspense. We have some really interesting ones coming up. Um, and in the next episode, we are actually going to have a very cool clip from the Chad and Bunny show. So I'm going to tag them in the next episode, and please stick around to see that. And the coming episode, we also are possibly going to be, well, not possibly, but we are in talks to do an episode with them that is going to be very fun and entertaining and kind of one of a kind. So we're super excited about that. We are going to be diving into some more true crime. There is a very heavy episode that we have coming up that we are doing with somebody that we absolutely love and respect. And Kylee and I are putting in the time to research and to watch things and to get prepared for it. And it is going to be a heavy episode.
Like a family affair.
Yeah. Well, family, that one, but then also we're going to be talking about a very highly, we're going to be talking about a true crime.
That one.
Yes.
Yeah, we're definitely doing some research on this episode. That episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kylee and I are going to dive further, but we do have some really cool episodes coming out here in the future that are diving more into this topic. And we will still have episodes coming out through Hot Goal Summer, but then Kylee and I will be taking a break because we will be reunited and it feels so good. Yeah, Kylee and I are gonna be together. We're gonna have, a Hot Ghoul summer vacation, be with the kids, be at the pool. We're gonna be living life, but then we're gonna come back and hit it even harder. Uh, yeah,
There's some really good stuff coming up for
we really do.
wise. I'm excited.
Yes, we really do. And please continue to stay tuned this month to our channel, our social media channels, because we are going to be pumping out more information for autism awareness. Kylee and I made a video describing the reason why we are moving forward with pumping resources, because we feel that advocacy isn't just a conversation that starts and stops in April, especially with the discourse that has happened in this past month with autism.
Well, and it's heavy to emphasize, and just for the both of us, Autism Awareness Month is not just 1 month a year. It's 12 months, 24 hours every single day of the year for me and you.
Yeah, truly. And so we are going to be making some videos, pumping out some resources, talking education wise. I know today is May 4th, and tomorrow I will be dropping a video talking about resources and the reason why those are important for that. So, but this is a conversation that Kylee and I have felt is important and something that is not new. If you know us, you know the first episode of Spooky Moms was about come play and our experience as being special needs parents. And this is something that we continue to advocate for, continue to talk about openly on our platforms, because it is important to have that conversation.
Well, and where me and Cass met at the Joni and Friends retreat, that is a retreat for families with special needs, and that's where me and Cass actually met for the first time. We didn't know each other.
No, and we became bonded because we both were going through very significant issues at that time with our children and elopement.
Our love of horror, of course, and true crime.
Yeah. And so it is important to continue to talk about that and have that conversation. So please check that out. Please check all the episodes coming out in the future. But we are now going to switch to what is on our mind this week. So, Kylee, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I got one, and you're probably going to agree with me.
Yes.
I think we were talking about it the other day. So I was in a live stream with the Hellmaster Day, talking about there is going
Hellzone.
to be Hellzone.
Hellzone.
There is going to be, not sure, a reboot, remake, sequel, what, of Killer Clowns from Outer Space with Ryan Gosling producing.
Which is going to be interesting because
No, we don't
they're
need it, bro. We don't
but
need it.
but it's interesting because if I correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if this project is dead or not,
Well,
but the Chiodo brothers are
yes,
doing a
they are
TV
going.
show.
The Cheetah Brothers are going to be like helping make this, but I don't know. I just don't think. I think it needs to be like a sequel of some. I don't want to see like 100% like remake of this movie. You just can't do it. And I
So
just don't understand. Has Ryan Gosling been in any horror before? He just. I have a bad taste in my mouth for him from him playing in Barbie as Ken.
okay, don't come for the Barbie movie, okay? The Barbie movie was
I
fantastic.
love the Barbie movie, but I feel like they could have picked a better Ken.
He was only one Ken though. There was like a ton. Okay,
Okay, well
what?
the main one. I feel like
Okay,
they could have picked
but
someone better.
they kind of needed his version of Ken by Barbie because let's face it, they say it in the movie. There is no Ken without Barbie.
Well, yeah, but still, they could have picked a different person to play Ken.
Uh, so I think if the Chiodo, which by the way, I'm probably saying that wrong. And that's crazy because Killer Clowns is one of my favorite movie. Anyone who's listened to this knows that we've had people on from Killer Clowns, and
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I still, so don't come for me. Don't come for me. I also, one of the Chiodo brothers is my Facebook friend, which I am absolutely eternally grateful for, and wished me happy birthday this past year. And I just wanted to cry because that's my childhood. But I feel like if they are a part of it, I'm okay because they have come back and done a lot of revisions of their work. Historically, they reuse the molds for the Killer Clowns, for Ernest Scared Stupid, for some of the trolls. They also did critters too. And they're the ones that came up with the critter ball. Um, and so they've done a lot of really cool things. Um, yeah, you have you not seen Critters 2? That face kind of scared me for a minute.
No, I am just looking up Ryan Gosling's like horror rap sheet, and okay, he's been attached to Universal monster movie The Wolfman, Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Frankenstein and Me, The Wolfman.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I know that he was in a Guillermo del Toro movie, and he Nightmare Alley, I think it was. Maybe I'm getting him and somebody else confused, but I know at some point in time he did something like that. I think he'll be fine. I mean, he did that movie The Fall Guy, and I think a lot of people didn't think that he could do a movie that was kind of like comedic, like stunt kind of stuff. And I think he impressed people with that. I also, again, I think it's different if you have the original creators of that helping you with it. Those brothers are very passionate about that. It took them a long time to get the game up and running and to do that. They continue to do things with it. Shout out to John Massari because anybody who hasn't listened to our episode with him, that's incredible. But those guys ride or die for each other, and they still do a lot of events together, still keep the fandom going up and alive. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because they're a part of it, and I do genuinely see that they are not. And a lot of people don't realize this, but there were actual people that were in those suits, the Killer Clown suits, and Killer Clowns is a property that for a while did not get the love that it deserved. It has since then gone on and gotten a lot of love. Like, I remember when we started Horrorcraft, it was just starting to pick up some momentum because of the fact that it was Halloween Horror Nights featured them. They were supposed to be doing something with sci-fi. That got canceled in the merger of um,
So
MGM Studios and
here's a
stuff.
question. Would you want practical effects or CGI for the
I think they're
clowns?
going to have to do both. I do think that knowing the brothers the way that I do from watching the films and being such big fans, I do think that they're going to do a ton of practical effects because they did have stuntmen that were in the actual costumes that were the killer clowns. And they did a lot of like work with that. So I think they could do both. I think they probably would stay mostly practical and then maybe they might use CGI for certain things, but they still have the original costumes. They still have the original molds. They still have all of that. They are people that have like retained a lot of that. They've proven that by Halloween Horror Nights because I think that that's how they were able to do like the suits for the killer clowns and stuff. And they have a lot of those props, a lot of those different things. So I'm here for it. I mean, whether we get a TV show, we get a movie, we get both of them, I will be hella excited because those brothers from the year that movie that came out, they have been trying to get something moving forward with continuing on, and they have done so almost at great personal cost to themselves. So I would be very excited to see that, and they just hold a special place in my heart because Killer Clowns. Then they obviously do Critters. Then they go on and do Ernest Scared Stupid, which is one of my favorite movies growing up. I remember renting that in the movie store. So I just think it's something that will continue to live on. So, but shout out today for covering that. And if you have not heard about the Hell Zone, you need to scoot on over and show Day and basically Britt, Cody, all of them, Hell Queen Jazzy, some love, and tell them that the Horrorcraft Ghoulie sent you because we love him. We love all of them.
We love
So
our Hellmaster.
yes, we do. We're constantly figuring out ways to merge the dimensions. So we appreciate Day a lot and everyone who makes up the Hell Zone. So shout out to you guys. So we took a little bit of a break because Cass switched gears a little bit and was a pop culture girly for Erie Culture Fest. I got to volunteer, got to have some really cool experiences. I talked about it a little bit, probably going to make a post either today or tomorrow about it, showing the pictures, but it was super cool. So I say that to say, if you have not got your tickets, and you want to come out in the fall and see the horror show, do so now. It's going to be an incredible event. They're doing a Wes Craven tribute. They're going to have some Nightmare on Elm Street people. They're going to have people under the stairs. And also, Kylee and I are going to be there together. So we're going to have fun. But my thing for this week is Kylee. And funny enough, Dakota actually got me to watch The Monkey. I really wanted to watch The Monkey. I had not gotten a chance to. Kylee and I were talking and she said, "Hey," and for those of you who don't know, Dakota, her husband, even though
Yeah.
he does like certain things, he's not a big horror person, but
You
he
know
really
what got him was he somehow figured out that it was the same director of Longlegs, and that's what was like, I want to watch this. And I was like, I'm proud. I'm proud, wifey.
I'm impressed. So when he
I, I,
said,
I am too.
yeah, so when they said we got to watch this, and then he was like, "Hey, I need you to watch this." I fired up the heating pad. I laid myself down on it and I watched it. And I will tell you, it was a good time. I have to shout out Theo James in this movie. I'm sorry, but he needs to be in more horror. The fact that he played two twin characters, but they're two very separate people. And you do see that. He is such an incredible actor. There are so many good actors around him. Patton, the director being the uncle that gets it in part of the movie is hilarious. Loved
that. Is so funny. You know, me and your aunt are swingers.
Yeah, that was the best part.
I was dead.
But it's
especially just knowing who that was.
Yeah, it was just such a good. This is why stuff like this is important, because that movie just hit on a different level, and it is such a different tone than Longlegs. It shows definitely that he can, broad strokes and different genres of horror.
Like it was like a horror comedy.
It was a black comedy, a horror, and I mean, like, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it was not Final Destination. It was not. It was so much.
It was not. I mean, you see the Final Destination elements, but they took that and just made it their own. So you can't say like, oh, it's like Final Destination.
Yeah, it was hitting at a different register. So I highly encourage people to watch it. There have been a lot of really good films. Freaky Tales with Pedro Pascal came out too, and I have yet to watch it. I really am going to, but there have been a lot of really good movies that have come out, and we have now hit May. So Cloud in a Cornfield is coming out, Final Destination Bloodlines is coming out, and obviously Sinners is killing it right now, and I cannot wait to experience that for myself.
I have a friend from back home was like, I want to go see Sinners, and this other girl that I used to be friends with was like, what is it? Is it scary? Like, you guys have no idea what you guys are trying to go see. Like,
but I
just want to see it because of Michael B. Jordan, which valid.
Yeah, I just love the fact that there's such a great conversation with that movie going on right now, especially in regards to ethnicity and to just everything with culture. And Ryan Coogler obviously like knocked it out of the park with Black Panther and everything that he does, and the fact that he was just so intentional about this movie and made intentional choices, and that the people in these movies are getting love right now is incredible. So I am super excited. Alien Earth is about to be upon us. I am hella excited for that. Predator Badlands, they just released that trailer too.
I'm super excited for Hell House Lineage.
Yes.
Weapons.
Yes.
That one sketch.
Yes, that Sarah just dropped.
That Sarah dropped in our group chat. Yeah, I think we've got some bangers coming out this summer.
Yeah, I'm really excited. The Weapons one is the one that took me by surprise too, because I'm
so excited for that.
I'm really excited, especially because it's done by the same people who did Barbarian, and we know how that turned out. So
that movie was fucking wild.
So prepare for a summer of bangers, but also prepare for your hot ghouls of summer to just knock it out of the fucking park. I don't care what the weatherman says here in Ohio. It is officially hot ghoul summer. We're going to be rocking and rolling it out, and we're going to be your one-stop destination for everything going on in horror right now. So sit back, relax, kick back in the pool, whether it's you're at the drive-in, whatever you're doing, just know the Horrorcraft girlies have got you. So until next time, it's me, Cass, and
Kylee.
And we are the Horrorcraft Podcast. And we're saying bye and
bye
and stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.